Good morning, Mr. Sanjive. It's a pleasure to have you with us today. So we really want to speak about District 2020. I mean, a lot of people have been asking ever since Expo started, what's going to happen to the site? Because we know there was a lot invested, a lot of energies, a lot of money as well. So can you tell us more about District 2020 and what does it mean to have a 15-minute city?
Sure, great. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on this interview. So, planning for the legacy of Expo 2020 was something which was always part of our thinking, even when we made the bid. So even if you go back and you read our bid documents which were there, you will clearly see that we were already starting to think about using all the investment and all the infrastructure that we're going to put in place for a future use. And at that point of time, we actually went ahead and we approached the whole planning in such a way that we actually did two master plans at the same time. We did what is called as an event master plan, and we did another master plan at the same time, which was the legacy master plan, with the objective that at least 80% of what we are building will actually get reutilized after the event. In reality, we'll probably land up using something like 90 to 95% of what we have built. 15-minute cities are really cities which are designed keeping you and I in mind, right? So they're designed, and you can also call them as being human-centric cities, where they're designed around people. They're not designed around the buildings. They're not designed around, cars. They're actually designed around the people who are going to live there and who are going to work there. So you really don't want to, you want to design the city in such a way that people can get to, their place of work. They can get to their retail shops, their groceries. They can go to and enjoy a nice meal. They can go and get entertained. All of it by simply either walking or cycling or getting onto an e-scooter nowadays or taking a public transportation system, but avoiding the car. So you're essentially trying to create a very sustainable, a very much, a healthy environment by providing this kind of an infrastructure. And that's really what District 2020 is. At the heart of it, District 2020 is a 15-minute city.
Wow, that's wonderful. And I like that the future was put in mind even during building the Expo site, which is now like a very big city. It is a city on its own. So I like that the future and sustainability has been the core concept of Expo, even during what it's built. But excuse me to ask, this is a question I'm sure that will occur to a lot of people. How will it be during the summer? I mean, to move around and to have, a city built on cycling and sustainable transportation is surely a great idea. But how will it be during summer?
Sure, it's a great question. And if you've been through the site, and I'm sure you've been through the site being a resident out here, one of the things that we have done is we have tried, as you walk through the thematic districts, you will notice that the buildings are very closely built next to each other. And we put a lot of shading structures, we put a lot of greenery. What happens is, and even in the summer months, and obviously we've had the benefit of walking through it in the summer months, the temperatures between the buildings are actually much lower because of the natural shading and the greenery and the environment that we have created. It is, of course, not like we have today, right now in the middle of winter, but it's definitely cooler.
We are talking about District 2020. First of all, can you tell us when do we expect the first tenants to move in, and how can tenants or interested tenants approach you for getting flats there?
So we have already been in discussions with potential tenants, and I'm happy to confirm that in terms of our commercial and office tenants, we've already pre-leased almost 15% of our commercial office space. Now, what happens is that the site itself undergoes, after the event is over on 31st of March, from the 1st of April, we start going through a phase-by-phase transition plan. So there are certain things that need to be removed. They need to be removed because they were there specifically for the event, and we don't need them later on. And then we start, if you may, transitioning the buildings towards what their intended end use is. So the buildings that are supposed to become office space, we start doing some work on that so that they become ready for the tenants. And then the ones that are supposed to become residential apartments, so we start working on those also at the same time. Now, we're going to do this by phase. The first set of buildings get handed over to our first tenants in July. So within 3 months of the event being over, our first set of tenants will start fitting out their office space. And then from there onwards, in phases, we start handing it over.
That's wonderful. You mentioned that, so it will be by phases, tenants will start to move in. The expected launch date, if I'm not mistaken, is October 2022 for District 2020.
So in reality, I think certain parts of the site will stay on, right? I don't think we will like just shut down everything and nobody can come in. And the reason for that is because we are also you have elements which are there which can be enjoyed by people even while this transition is going on. For example, at Wasl Plaza is a great example, right? So I think if you look at an official launch date, I don't think it's fair to say it's going to be October. In a certain sense, things will be going live. One thing I did want to actually touch on, which I didn't touch on your previous question, was if your listeners are interested and people are interested in setting up at their businesses or relocating their businesses to District 2020. So we do have a presence during event time at the Grove Hotel, which is right next to Al Wasl Plaza. They can come there and meet us, or you can go to our website. We have an easy form to fill up, and we will contact you and share details on how you can be part of this incredible city that we're building.
So tell me more about the businesses. Are the spaces open to any businesses, or there are certain conditions that District 2020 is following when choosing the type of businesses to be operating at District 2020?
Great question. So as I had said earlier, we're also a city of the future. And for us, being a city of the future also means being a new innovation hub in the city of Dubai. We actually have selected certain sectors that we want to focus on. And these sectors are smart cities, including clean technology. We are focusing on smart mobility, smart logistics, and Industry 4.0. So these are the sectors that we are focusing on. But we are also equally talking to startups. We're talking to SMEs. We are talking to universities, research institutions, innovation centers, accelerators, incubators, government agencies, all of which who are very keen to be part of this ecosystem.
How about other businesses, and also in terms of residential, the residential aspects?
Yeah, so actually the residential is the least of our worries, because everybody who comes there says, oh, we would love to live here. Many, and like I said, you also, we've secured tenants for like Siemens and Terminus. By the way, so we've already leased out 15% of our office space, and that's without really doing much of a marketing. We have a pipeline of companies that we are talking to, which adds up to an additional 40% of that of our commercial inventory. So we do feel that we have a very strong pipeline, which is there. All the companies that we are talking to, or who have already signed up with us, have essentially said that their staff would love to stay in the residential, because for them, it makes life easier for the people, the innovators, the creatives, the technologists, the coders, the programmers who are working in these technology. For them, they would love to stay here. So we're not really worried about the residential. I think the moment we open up the residential and we start taking bookings, they will fly.
Can you tell me now, we spoke about the features that will stay from Expo. Can you tell me more about what will happen to the pavilions, really? A lot of people have been, wondering about that.
Yeah, sure. So there are different types of pavilions, of course, which are there. There are pavilions that we have built ourselves. And I talked about some of those, Terra, Aleph, etc. So all of those will stay on and will continue as attractions. But equally, some of the country pavilions will also stay on. Now, some of them were already built as permanent structures. So as you may be aware, the UAE pavilion, the Saudi pavilion, the India pavilion, all these three were built as permanent buildings. and the countries will continue to operate them and do something with those pavilions. But beyond that, also we've also been approached by a number of other. So we're also in discussions now with some other countries, and hopefully over the next few days you'll hear additional announcements about which country pavilions are going to be staying on.
So definitely a great idea. Now, talking about wellness and well-being, can you tell me more about how District 2020 will work to promote that concept? I mean, what will be the facilities really that will be in the city or in District 2020 that will not be found anywhere else?
It is an important contributor to wellness is also your mental well-being, right? So how you get inspired, how you get entertained, how you get essentially you don't want to stay in an environment which is not inspirational and creative. And a number of the cultural elements that we have actually built for Expo will also continue in legacy. So Terra, which is our sustainability pavilion, becomes a children's science center. Aleph, the mobility pavilion, stays on. Some of the other pavilions, such as Vision and Mission Possible, will also stay on. In addition to that, we also have Al Wasl Plaza, which is the jewel of the crown, if you may, right? She stays on as this incredible 360 projection dome. So if you're a resident who's living there or even working there, you have the opportunity every evening of going down and seeing incredible projections and being inspired and just connecting with what's around you. The water feature, the garden in the sky, all these elements are going to stay on. So really, in that sense, we think that bringing together, sustainability, the wellness elements and fitness elements I spoke about, and also the inspirational cultural elements really contribute to the well-being of the overall city.
Wonderful. Now, can you take us more about, like, once the event ends, what happens next? So once the event ends, how is the construction going to happen? How can you take us through it step by step?
Yeah, sure. So I think as soon as the event gets over, as I mentioned earlier, we will start clearing out the site of some of the event, if you may, infrastructure. So that happens over a period of a couple of weeks, right, where we start clearing this out. Even some of the countries which will be vacating their pavilions or be removing their pavilions, some countries, by the way, have decided that they're going to take their pavilion back to their home country. So that process also starts at the same time. The countries will take a little bit more time. They have up to about 6 months to actually remove their pavilion and relocate it or demobilize it, if you may. At the same time, we then start opening up the site in phases to the other contractors who will come and start transitioning the buildings into their end use. We already have about 2,300 apartments which are built right next to us. This is called the Expo Village. That will be available much earlier for residential as a residential offering also. So really, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done in the coming 9 months to get the site ready. And but we also want to make sure that we keep the site open for the visitors, for whether they're international or resident or domestic, to continue to come and see and enjoy some of the attractions that they've fallen in love with, like Al Wasl Plaza, like the water feature. So we will also manage that in a very careful way so that their visitor experience is not impacted.
Wow, there's a lot of tasks for you to balance in here over the next few months. What are the options really that are available to businesses and residents? I mean, in terms of buying and in terms of renting, is there both options available, or?
So as of now, we're only leasing office space. We are not selling any buildings or any floors or units. Might change in the future. I mean, I think that's up to our shareholders and stakeholders while they decide to do what they decide to do with this. But as of now, we're purely leasing.
I mean, if you were to take us on a mental tour of this city, how will it be? Like, how can people imagine the life there?
Let's say you're staying in the pavilion in the building that was occupied by Cuba. So you were staying in the Cuba building. You're staying in this lovely 1-bedroom split apartment very much modern urban living. You get up in the morning, you can go for a run. You have the opportunity to go and have a nice coffee in one of the coffee shops. You then walk 50 meters and go to the other part of the site where your office is. That's all it took you. Only 50 meters to walk across, maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and you're there. And you get into work, you enjoy the company with your coworkers, you do what you do. And then at lunchtime, you can come down, go across to Serenity, the water feature, enjoy the water feature, grab something at the food hall, which is already there, and sit and watch the water feature. While you finish your food, you go back, you're back at work, you finish your work, at whatever time, 5 o'clock, you finish your work, and 5 minutes later, you can be back home. You go back home, you change, you say, you know what, I want to try something new. I want to actually go and get inspired by something else. So you go out and you take a walk. Maybe there's a show happening at Al Wasl. Maybe there's a concert happening at Jubilee. You walk across out there and you enjoy that. Maybe there is a talk about sustainability happening at Terra. You want to go and see that. So you go across and do that. And then and once you finish doing that, within again a 5 to 10 minute walk, you can be back home. So yeah, it's really a beautiful day, right? I mean, this is probably the dream day that you can think about.
It's a fully integrated city, as community integrated city, as you've previously described. Yeah. The conversation would keep going on. I mean, the last thing, I promise, what would you tell people? So the question is of two parts. What would you tell people who think about District 2020 that will be far away from their offices if the offices are, outside District 2020? That's one. Two, can people expect the concerts and the level of events of Expo to still continue in District 2020?
Great question. So I think to answer the first question, yes, we do recognize that where we are is probably not the center of town. Dubai as a city, grows incredibly fast, and things start feeling closer quite quickly over a period of time. We are extremely fortunate that the government of Dubai has recognized how incredible is the work that's been done on the site and the infrastructure that's been built. And I've designated the site as being the 5th urban center for the city of Dubai. So they didn't call it the 5th suburban center, they called it the 5th urban center for the city of Dubai. So very clearly, the government also intends to keep investing and building the entire site out around us, what's happening. They've already invested in the metro to extend it and bring it there for the event. They've already built 3 or 4 bridges, which have made it much faster to actually access the site. So I actually think that those of us who feel that maybe this is a little bit far, very soon you're not going to feel that. And in fact, the government has already made those investments. Now, coming back to your second question, which is in terms of the programming and what's going to happen and the shows. Of course, we're going to continue having shows and having performances, etc. Are they going to be the same as that was happening in Expo? No. This is going to be we're going to bring new shows. We're going to bring new events. It's going to be different. Some of it will be the same. You will still see some of the stuff which was done at Expo, but you will also start seeing new stuff because we want to give new things for people to look forward to and to get attracted to the site.
Wonderful. Very inspiring talk indeed. You have just awakened our dreams of having, life in the future. Thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you for explaining how the District 2020 would be like and giving us a glimpse of the future in Dubai.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. And, look forward to seeing you once the event is over.
Surely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.